Oh god, oh god. Oh, this one's even heavier. Oh, might as well add this too. I'll explain that later. Hi everyone, my name is Holly, and in today's video I'm going to be doing not one, but two pretty large book outlet unboxings and one very crushed cushy crate. So like I said in my last video, my book buying is severely out of control, but I'm hoping the end is near and that my obsessive buying of the books has ended. But Bookoutlet's adult fantasy section has been popping lately and I can't help myself. I'm pretty sure all of you can understand. So let's go ahead and open up the first box. Oh, how convenient. So the very first book I pulled out of the very first box is the reason why I made that order, and that is Age of Myth by Michael J. Sullivan. All blame goes to this, and along with like 100 other epic fantasy readers, because this book is really hard to find in hardcover. Now, I have yet to read any books by Michael J. Sullivan, but I want to so badly. It's on my bucket list. This is an epic fantasy that takes place in the same universe as his previous books, but it takes place 3,000 years before. I have been told that you can go into this book first without having read the other books in this world without being spoiled by anything, but I do like to read books in publication day order, so Theft of Swords will probably be in a very near future book haul. I bet money on it. So the next couple books were actually a pair, and the first one is the Providence of Fire, which is book 2, and then we have the Last Mortal Bond by Brian Staveley, book 3, and this is part of the Chronicle of the Unhewn Throne series. I own the prequel and the first book. I'm already this far into it. Might as well go big or go home. So similar to Game of Thrones, this series is set in kind of like an ancient medieval kingdom, and we're following the life of the Emperor's 3 children. The story is told from their perspectives, and the story really gets set in motion once their father gets assassinated. Please don't demonetize me, YouTube. And the series is now complete, so you can read it immediately. Up next, I have the Tangled Lands, Paolo Mascigalupi and Tobias S. Buckle. I eye this book every single time I go into Barnes & Noble. It gives me all the side eye. I give it back like, hey, you looking good. And then we were reunited once again on Bookoutlet. This cover is so pretty, and I actually thought it was wet when I pulled it out of the box. It's got that dewy skin. It's rocking that highlight. So this book is labeled as adult fantasy, but I've heard that the writing is very YA-ish, so it's very easy to read. It's compiled of 4 short stories that all correlate to one another. Each story focuses on a character who is working within the city of Haim. K-H-A-I-M. I'm assuming the K is silent, like my last name. And the city is covered in deadly vines and thorns because of the overuse of magic. All of these stories are supposed to parallel to one another, and it allows the reader to come up with their own connections, kind of like a scavenger hunt. The world is dark and full of corruption, and also really short too, so like I could easily pick this one up soon. And the next book I have here is Fool's Gold by John Hollins, and this is the first book in a adult fantasy trilogy called The Dragon Lords. I actually read a little excerpt of this at the end of another Orbit book, and what I read I really loved, so when I saw it on Bookoutlet, I knew I had to get it. I really love that Orbit does that. They do it for all of their books. It's just a nice little preview of another book that you might be interested in that's kind of similar to the one that you're currently reading. And for this one, it was either Kings of the Wild or Bloody Rose, and like, yes, if it's at all like those books, this will be a 5-star read. So the world that we are focusing on in the story is actually ruled by very evil and beastly dragon lords. This book has dragons. Like, actually dragons. Do you know how hard that is to find these days? This book follows a boy named Will who lives in one of the most poorest farming villages. He's finding it very hard to make ends meet because the taxes keep being raised, when suddenly his farm is then seized by soldiers and now he owns nothing. Eventually he meets a group of mercenaries and they band together to try to take back what was theirs. It's supposed to be really funny and not taken too seriously, which again sounds like Kings of the Wild, and oh, my heart is bursting so much just thinking about that comparison. Like, even the tagline on the back says, "You're not seriously proposing we steal from a dragon." I wouldn't have it any other way. The next book in this box is Dark Emulation by Christopher Husberg, and this is book 2 to Duskfall, which is this book right here. See, they match. Look at that. Look at those spines. Oh, and the series is called The Chaos Queen, and it's a dark fantasy. Obviously, you wouldn't be watching my videos if I had to explain that, but I bought that first book a few months ago on a total whim. Splurging on adult fantasy is totally different than splurging on YA fantasy. I like most adult fantasy that I read when YA can be hit or miss. This is a 5-book series, but the more the merrier. And the last book in this box is God's Grave by J. Kristoff. So I recently acquired a first edition signed copy of Nevernight from Amazon, and even though I haven't read it, I felt so obligated to get the signed first edition of God's Grave, which is book 2. This is a very popular adult dark fantasy that's kind of teetering on the edge of grimdark possibly, and I just have such high hopes for it. It's all about a badass main female character who's being trained to be an assassin. Sounds like a dream come true, and the third one is coming out as well. So maybe if I can find a first edition signed copy of that one, my collection will be complete. Okay, so that was the first Bookoutlet order, but now let's go ahead and move on to that cushy crate I was talking about. That came like this. Like, seriously. It came like this. Like, you can literally see inside. Like, who in the world, whoever works for the post, they must have been having a really bad day, because holy moly. How does a box get like this? So yeah, it arrived at the post office like this, and they were kind enough to wrap it, as you can tell. They tried to anyways, and I wish I could show you like the logo of Cushy Crate, but it's very hard to see there. This is run by an amazing woman named Diana. She contacted me and asked if I wanted to open up the September box, and I'm not gonna say no to that. Hopefully everything is okay in here. I hear a lot of jiggling around. I'll leave her website link and everything down below, but let's get into this. I literally just vacuumed my room today. Oops. So the first thing is this. We have a Six of Crows mug that says, "When you can't beat the odds, change the game." And it looks like that. It's really pretty. Up next we have this. It's a bath bomb, and it says, "Marabella pumpkin spice latte." Ooh, getting in the season. It smells so, so good. Yeah, I just ate that. Pumpkin spice latte, what can you do? Oh, this candle was literally made for me. I just finished Stalking Jack the Ripper today, and I loved it. So this says, "London fog, fear is a hungry beast." It's gonna smell like tea, cozy fires, and lurking shadows. What in the hell does lurking shadows smell like? Doesn't smell like anything. Damn, it smells so good. Is this made by Cushy Crate? Is this an exclusive? This is so pretty. So it's a tote bag inspired by ACOTAR by Sarah J. Maas. And it says, "No one was my master, but I might be master of everything if I wished, if I dared." Can I fit in this? Yeah, I can fit in it. And the book of September is Not Even Bones by Rebecca Schaefer. This is so funny again, because this is actually on my October TBR. I have the arc of it, and now I can just read the hardcover. Unfortunately, it looks like I didn't get the book plate, which I'm guessing it fell out of the box. I'm not sure if anything else did, because I mean the box was freaking wide open, which is so, so sad. These come with book plates, so ugh, stupid post people. But I'm so happy to have this. Be on the lookout for my October wrap up, because I will be reading this month. You know the drill. Alright, so that was the end of this Cushy Crate box. If you would like to get your own very first subscription, you can use my code Holly15, and that will save you 15% on your box. So I would highly recommend this. Oh shoot, I missed something. Curl Prince print. It was on the back of the spoiler cards. That's really cool. Prince Carden and Jude. Ooh, look at the bosom on her. Why can't I be normal? Why do I gotta point these things out? So now we are moving on to the second Bookoutlet box, which is another 7 books. no surprise. So let's go ahead and start with the book that made me make this book outlet order, and that is Child of a Mad God by R.A. Salvatore, which is another pretty well-loved epic fantasy. R.A. Salvatore is actually an author who's been writing for well over 20 years, and I have yet to read one of his books, but when I spotted this one, I knew this would be like the perfect novel to go into and like de-virginize me. Especially because I just recently found out that this is the author who wrote the story and lore and basically the universe to one of my all-time favorite RPG fantasy video games, which is Kingdoms of Amalur. It's so underrated, but it's one of my favorites. I played it on the PlayStation 3. You can play it on the PC and Xbox 360 as well. But he wrote that whole world and it made me so much more excited to read this book. I highly recommend Kingdoms of Amalur. So in this book we are following a girl named Eowyn, and she kind of looks like Aloy from Horizon Zero Dawn. And the environment kind of looks like that too. A lot of video game comparisons here. So here's something funny. The next book is, I believe, the only YA book in this whole video, and that's The Last Namsara by Kristen Ciccarelli, and this is another fantasy book that supposedly has dragons in it. I always hear that this book is very underrated and it's a lot of people's favorites, but it seems to be like a lot of people haven't read it yet, and I want to read it and like it so that I can shine more light onto it, even though it doesn't need it. Look how freaking shiny it is. Now we just gotta figure out how to get this stupid sticker off. Up next I have another pair of books, and that is Blood Mage, which is book 2, and also Chaos Mage, which is book 3 in Stephen Arion's older trilogy, which I have the first book too. The first book is called Battle Mage. I actually plan to binge read this trilogy very soon because it's now complete, and I am very excited to do that because this is like your classic old style epic fantasy and it should be fun times. Stephen Arion also has a new series that's out and it takes place in this world, so I really need to get to this one first. And the next book is The Court of Broken Knives by Anna Smith Spark, and this is another fantasy book that's been on my Amazon wishlist for so long. I feel like that's what I use Book Outlet for. It gives me a really good excuse to buy books that I'm interested in but don't want to pay full price for. That's a very dangerous game though. This is a dark epic fantasy series that is following a band of mercenaries as they approach a city that's supposedly the Empire's richest and arguably the most important city to complete this mission that could change the world. Honestly, I feel like lately I've discovered some new hotkey words that I like when I read a synopsis. I have a soft spot for runaway princesses, and now I have a serious soft spot for bands of mercenaries. Give me more of that. Up next is Blood of Assassins by R.J. Barker, and this is book 2 in yet another epic adult fantasy. Did you see that one coming? I own the first book and I'm so positive that I'm going to love this series. It's following a 15-year-old boy who is disabled, and he is being trained by arguably like the most skilled assassin in all of the world, and these two characters are assigned on a very deadly mission to try and find this fellow assassin who is contracted to kill their heir to the throne. I think this series sounds so fun and I get such Assassin's Creed vibes every time I look at these covers, and I can't wait to read them. And the last book in this box and the final one of this video is The Queens of Ines Lear by Tessa Gratton. This is a pretty feministic, is that a word? Probably not, but it's going to be today, epic high fantasy novel. This book was really hyped in the months before it was released, and then suddenly it came out and I have heard nobody talk about it ever since. It just died. But obviously this is a kind of really dark retelling of King Lear, so I expect it to be pretty brutal. And yeah, I don't really know too much about it other than that, other than the freaking spine. I didn't expect it to have like these really cool filigree designs all the way up from top to bottom. It's really pretty, and the cover is pretty too. So it's a nice book to add to that collection, and it was the book that made me go over the $35 free shipping on Bookoutlet. And that is the end of this video. I really hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, give this video a big thumbs up because it helps me out so much. Don't forget to subscribe. I upload videos every single week, and follow me on my Instagram. I am at Holly Hearts Books and on Twitter at Holly Niece. And until we meet again, happy reading.